Hello, my name's James Moneypenny, and the following is a video to give you some top tips on being an adult leader on expedition. So let's get straight to it. So a few things then that all team members should be doing pre-expedition. Build up your fitness, particularly your cardiovascular fitness. That means running, swimming, walking, cycling, anything that's getting you out of breath to build up your baseline fitness is going to be extremely helpful and make your expedition more fun. If you need them, look into getting visas as well as a visa waiver if we're transiting through the United States. Look at the kit list and make sure you've got it all. Pay a lot of attention to each item and make sure you've broken in your walking boots. So you're not turning up with brand new unworn walking boots before we start. Look after your kit and it will look after you. Make sure you've got the vaccinations that you might need by going and seeing your practice nurse. Familiarise yourself with all the paperwork on the online portal that's been emailed to you, particularly itinerary forms. Have a check-up with your dentist. There's nothing worse than having toothache for a whole expedition or going to see some dodgy third world dentist. Learning some of the local language or the predominant local language can get you very far, just having a few basic phrases. Do some country-specific research. So as expedition leader, my role essentially involves safety and development, so that's keeping everyone on the expedition, including myself, safe, as well as doing my best to develop the students on the expedition. As a school leader, you have a higher degree of pastoral care, and as an expedition assistant, as the name would suggest, your role is assisting in the leadership of the trip. Now obviously that is our theoretical roles on expedition. How much say as a school leader you want to get involved in the development or even the safety essentially is up to you. Now obviously as adults we each have a moral obligation and a legal duty of care to work within our knowledge, experience, qualifications to keep everyone on the trip happy and healthy and safe. So obviously if I was to witness a pastoral matter, I don't know, say a team member's being bullied, then obviously I'm going to do my best as an adult to resolve that situation, and likewise I'd expect you as an adult, if you were to see something that you didn't think was safe, then to do something about it. So I think in practice our roles definitely merge. I'd obviously like you as an adult leader and a member of the team to feel like you are an effective member of the team, that you're involved, that you're learning, and I think what's important with that is communication, so that we can understand what your role is and give you more or less responsibility depending on what it is that you actually want. So let's talk a little bit about effective leadership. I think it's obviously really important that we as a leadership team take the time to communicate with each other. Expeditions can be really hectic from the get-go, and you might find that each day time passes really quick. It feels like we don't have that much time to talk to each other, but let's try to, on a daily basis, take the time to have a little meeting and actually do something, get into the routine, get into the habit of doing something a little bit more formal as well as just having a coffee and a chit chat and a catch up, just so that we can check where we're at, see how everyone's getting on within their kind of different roles and responsibilities. What's quite unique and really good about expeditions is it's all about getting the students, the team, leading their own trip. So what I mean by this is we're going to give them as much responsibility and ownership and decision making as we possibly can by giving them roles and responsibility. Now I'm going to talk a bit more specifically about what roles we're going to give to the team members, but first of all let's talk a little bit about the development side of things. So one side of development that I think is really important on expedition is allowing a room for error, that is experiential learning, allowing the team and individuals to have ownership and real responsibility, which may well mean learning by mistakes as well as learning by success. An example of this could be, for example, say allowing the team to be late for a bus. This could actually be a really effective learning experience, because if, say, early on the trip they actually miss a local bus, but it's not actually impacting their itinerary that much because there's another bus a little bit later, hopefully by facilitating their team meetings, be it an immediate meeting or discussion at the time, or one during their team meeting later that night, and hopefully getting the team themselves to come up with solutions to whatever the problem was, then they can really learn from their mistakes, and which tends to be a much more powerful experience than just, say, being taught or being told. So this could also be making minor budgeting errors, or overspends, or say allowing the team or individuals to be ripped off in a market or something like this. It might not be that much money at the time, but I think it's quite useful to go through that experience, so that you're not getting it even worse when you go off travelling yourself. It can be a very useful learning experience and much more powerful than just being told about it. So another side that I use all the time is just using questioning, just to get individuals or the team to think about something. So say, for example, I want an individual in the team to remind themselves to be on time. I might just say to them, like, what time are we supposed to be meeting again? And that'll get them thinking, oh, it's only in 10 minutes, I need to get ready or whatever. Or say, for example, the team are talking over one another. You could ask a thought-provoking question such as, how many people can you listen to at one time? Sometimes skilled facilitation might actually involve not saying anything, knowing when the team is likely to come up with a solution themselves. Sometimes it might involve actually teaching the team or an individual a whole skill set, so that that will work in all future situations. Sometimes it might actually just involve telling them how to do something or telling them what to do. Which out of those three I personally decide to do might depend on factors such as how much time we have, whether I think the benefit of allowing them to make a mistake outweighs the disadvantages of them actually making the mistakes. Perhaps the team is cold, hungry, or just team vibe, team mood is kind of low at one moment, and it's just better to tell them in that moment what the best solution is. For example, guys, that restaurant looks great. there's lots of locals, i.e. it's popular, and the food is being produced in front of us. We can see it's hot, we can see it's fresh. Why don't, I mean, it's your choice, but that looks good. Just as an example. Normally I'd be much more subtle. So it might be, for example, midway through the expedition, I'm just using hand sanitizer very obviously in front of the group, so they can see that I'm doing it, maybe offering my own hand sanitizer around the people near me, just to remind them that that's something they need to do. Or I might just like say, oh yeah, I feel like I've got a little bit of a headache coming on. I've only drunk 2 litres today. I need to start drinking a little bit more. Might be an example of something that I'd say just to get individuals around me to think, oh, I need to start drinking more. Or, for example, when I'm checking up on my own buddy for the day, I might do that in a really obvious manner, just to remind the people that can overhear me to check on their own buddies and make sure their buddies has applied sun cream and drinking water and checking up on them. So that's just scratching the surface really. When it comes to facilitation, I don't think there's necessarily right or wrong answers on how to go about it. Hopefully this has got you thinking, and you'll be getting involved on expedition with facilitating the group alongside myself. So on build-up day, we'll get the team to give themselves roles, and probably I'll have quite a bit of input into what the roles actually are, and just get them to decide who is doing what. So they'll be working in sort of subgroups for things like budgeting and transport. I'm going to go into it in a bit more detail in a minute. And I think personally it's quite good as an adult leadership team, to mentor the team and to give them feedback as well, so they can get the most out of their experience. So between the expedition members and us as an adult leadership team, we're going to be carrying several communication devices. Between us, we'll probably have our own personal mobile phones, which you don't have to bring, but I recommend that you do if you're willing to, because it's quite useful to get an in-country SIM if your phone is unlocked, and that way, if and when we have to split up, we can still communicate as an adult leadership team easily. We'll also be carrying a satellite phone and some sort of emergency beacon, more than likely. So obviously it makes sense to split those up between us, and who carries what will really depend on where it's most efficient. So definitely I'll be bringing my own personal mobile, which will be unlocked and have an in-country SIM. So because of that, I'll normally give the satellite phone to the assistant leader or one of the school leaders, but this needs to be turned on build-up day to check that it's working, and at 9 AM local time every day. So I'll probably carry a beacon or EPIRB or whatever it is we have, but obviously you might switch this up depending on who's splitting up with who. Other sort of team kit that we'll be taking or carrying as an adult leadership team would be things like first aid kits and medical boxes. Might make up small sort of first aid kits for the sort of student medical team, but that will obviously not have any sharps or medications in. and we'll be carrying the bulk of sort of prescription medications and first aid kits. And again, we want to, whenever we split up, we want to think about who's carrying what there, and obviously making sure that they're always accessible if we're on transport or trekking or anything like that. I think it's especially important for you as an adult leader to know about the safety and security sort of measures, so that you can make sure that the student team are doing them. So I'm going to go over those in a second.